Alright, lovely people, welcome back to another video, and it's Ginger here, and we are sticking with our theme of clouds and skies. And I've taken a screenshot from my sky video closer towards the end of the evening, just before it got so dark that I was stumbling around in the dark, because there's no lights out in that section of the grounds of the house. So but the camera has very good night vision, unbelievably. But as it was getting darker, we were getting a lot more of these beautiful blue tones, a little bit of pink and a little bit of yellow. So it's going to be really interesting, because this is going to be a slightly darker sky. But I think actually the darker sky is almost, in some respects, a lot nicer. So we will see how this goes. Now, I'm not going to use the water technique like I did on the last one. I am just going to do a light layer, blend it in with my fingers, and then go over it. So a little bit more messy, which is a good point. So I should probably find my cloth. Give me one sec. Also notice that you guys are slowly disappearing into ether, so we'll pull the camera back up a wee bit. Ta-da! There we go. Right, that's a bit better for you guys. I now have a cloth, which is just what we want. Make sure the camera's focused. And we're going to start just with the base sky rather than the clouds. And actually at this point, most of the clouds were further away in the horizon. And most of this was literally just the kind of jewel coloured sky fading down into the pink and then into the yellows and whites. So let's start with, we'll start with our yellow. So it's less yellow-white now at this point. It was definitely more kind of heading into the slightly more structured yellow. So you can see this here is our yellow, and we're just going to do that across the page, across there. And then we've got pink. Have I got these colours the wrong way around in this box? It's really hard to tell sometimes which ones are white and which ones are not, because they look, that does not look like white. Let me rub them down. Let's have a look. It's the problem with these is they get so dirty from their own colours, and I'm not even sure. I mean, they came like that, and because I'm not really using them, it's very hard to see, but you know, I'm not going to be making a mess. Now they're both white. Fine, you just stay like that then, and I will keep going. I know I've got a slightly more pinky peachy colour here is what we're going into, which we're coming into here. And this is, I need to really bring this into more of a blue. So I'm thinking I've got a pale pink violet actually, which might be better for this. So let's bring that in. Where is it? There it is. We got more of our kind of violet tone there. And actually it comes up a lot further. So I'm just going to bring that up. And then into our blues, which is more of this one. At the top, I'll do the intermediate blue in a minute. But it was fairly dark at the top by this point, which isn't really a surprise when it's that dark at night. And then our lighter one, which is there. And you see how much dust these produce, it's a nightmare. What are we thinking? Like that. There we go. So I'm just going to mix this in with my finger and just blend it as much as I can into the paper at this point. I'm just doing in lines across, so that I'm not blending down, because I don't want to blend down. I want to blend along these lines so that I'm not going to lose the colours. Because if I keep blending down, they will merge so much that it will just become one rather nice muddy colour. How strong that blue is. So pigmented. I'm just making sure that these are blending into each other in a way that's useful. Blow off any minor dust. Right, So that's pretty good looking actually. You won't see most of this because a lot of it will get hidden by these clouds. So now we can work on the clouds. So I'm going to start on the darkest colour for the clouds, and we've got some of this dark blue again that we had in originally. So we've got this little kind of section here, and lower down on the horizon the clouds are a lot more well formed, they're a lot more bitty, they're a lot more well defined, whereas the further up you go the more kind of soft and fluffy they are. So we know we can do that, coming in here, a bit there, coming that way, and that way, and then it comes this way before it's coming up and disappearing off that way. There's a little bit of a gap here, but not much. I don't want to do too much there. And we've got this sort of space monster of a cloud just kind of hanging here on its lonesome out in amongst everything else. So we're just going to kind of roughly get the shapes in. We're not looking for perfection. We are literally just getting shapes, having fun. We'll just kind of push that in there that way. And the darkest sections are here, but we've got the darker grey for that, so I'm not worried. That's they're kind of connected slightly. And again, down here we've got this big lump of a cloud kind of coming down here, ready to move further up. And I believe if I bring the video forward it probably was going that direction, but we don't need to see that for now. And then this one, we've got some little satellite clouds, little fluffy things that are kind of hanging out with this one. And they come up there like that. And then another little one, and then a bigger kind of collective one here, like that. Yeah, that's about right. Okay, and now I want to get the darker grey in and just pick out where the darkest sections are. So we know that this is fairly dark here into this cloud. As it kind of comes this way it gets darker. It's fairly dark. There's only like a little bit of darkness in this tail bit here, but going back this way it's quite dark. And some this way, but not as much. So I'm just going to put a little bit just to help accent. And again, same with this, it's darker at the bottom. And coming up. Just little patches of it in some of these clouds. And to be fair, you know, this is getting on to twilight and that glorious time between times. If you've watched Outlander, you'll know exactly what time period this is. And I mean as in time as in 24-hour clock time, not as in time period like Victorian period, Georgian period, the millennium. None of that. None of that. Just think smaller. Right. Now what I want to do is blend some of that in so that we're not getting too much pastel down and we get some of these colours in, because these dark sections are the kind of darker blue-grey, which is what we were having fun with the other painting. It kind of lightens out there. And again, there's a light section here that I want to kind of keep in as we go up into another dark section, and I'm going to kind of take that out like that. And yeah, I'm trying to maintain some crisp edges, some not so crisp edges. This cloud has got a mixture of both, so I'm trying to make sure that we kind of maintain what we've got from that photo. Well, It's actually a still grabbed from the film, but you know what I mean. Mostly because you want to be able to go, right. And there is a very faint cloud up here, which is what I'm just putting in here, but just trying to keep that relatively faint. So there's that one. And then as we come down to this. It doesn't really connect except for that section here, so that's what we'll do. And then down and along. I tend to don't mind working it out with my fingers and then going back in with the pastel to create some tighter edges. So I don't mind it kind of smudging out slightly too much if I need to. And this, it kind of fades that out into this cloud just there. So that's what we'll do. That one, and then down here there's this, the darker blob down here, which we're just gonna blend. And then we've got these little fluffy blobs. Like that. Right, hopefully you guys can see that all right. Let me just check. Yep, you're good. Now we can add in some paler colours, and specifically I want to add in the pale blue. I've got the pale greys, but it's a very warm grey and I'm not sure that's really what I want. And I've got the pale blue tone, which is this one. That might actually, yeah, look at that, that might actually work better. So I'll just get some of that in there. Just kind of dabbing my finger. From where I want it. It's got a little, trying carefully not to put too much pastel down. There's like a little wispy paler section coming off this cloud up here. I'll just do that. You can barely see it against the sky, but it's definitely noticeable. And the same here. I've got some little bits here and there where it's just slightly paler. And the same down here. Now these paler sections kind of help produce all these different shapes that we've got down here. So I don't want to go overboard. Remember, this is a study, and on top of that we are working on a very tiny piece of paper. So for any of you that haven't seen the previous video, this is a piece of the Canson May Tents. So it's not the sanded version, the touch. This is just the standard Canson May Tents. And yes, again, it's also not the velvet either. In fact, would you believe it? I actually have not bought or used the velvet in any way whatsoever. I probably will get round to it, don't get me wrong. It's just, at the moment, it doesn't really suit some of the stuff I'm working on, especially the bigger pastel pieces with the texture. It doesn't suit what I'm doing with that. The textures are all handmade, so it's just, there's no point me buying it if I'm not going to use it. And whilst I could happily just use it to produce a couple of videos for your guys' entertainment, it's not really great for an investment for me, especially as I am not working. I'm just too ill to go and work at the moment, and therefore I'm not earning, so I don't really want to be spending money I don't have. A lot of what I'm working with at the moment is all stuff that I have thrifted, for the Americans, or found for the UK peeps in charity stores. And I kid you not, there are so many amazing things you can find in a charity store. And would you believe it? Canson May 10th paper. There's a few other things I've found in some charity stores as well recently that have just been absolute goldmine finds. My current favourites are Bernardo's. They've been really good for art supplies. I have no idea why. I think the thing is, if you have a shop that's within walking distance of home, or is somewhere near your workplace, and therefore is somewhere that you can go to regularly, then you get to know like the shop team, the volunteers, the store associates, the store manager, and you can make requests like, you know, guys, if you get any art supplies in, you know, let me know. I know I had particular fun with Bernardo's because you know, like most charity shops, you've got to be really careful about putting used supplies out, and most of the time used art supplies end up going into recycling or being disposed of safely, because you can't really, a lot of times you can't really sell art like tubes of paint that's kind of half used and stuff, which they can do with discretion, but it's not easy, and that's fair enough to them. But they're an absolute great resource for me, because a lot of the time, you know, with a bit of work, I can actually revive them. And if I can do that, then I know I can get some really gorgeous, decent supplies for not a lot. So you can see I'm just working around the edges of these clouds with this pale blue, and then just dabbing it out with my fingers, and it's kind of blending these in. I'm not liking this line. I don't know how this happened. I think I must have been not paying attention to what I was doing. But this is all kind of interconnected anyway down here, so I think I'm just gonna go over it with this and then dab. That should help. Yeah, that should help, just like that. Now, there isn't any really light parts, so I think what I'll do is, where are we? Not the yellow, the white, because it is this is the yellow white, I think. I can't tell the difference between the white and the yellow white, and I think it's just my eyesight, but I really can't. So I'm going to lighten the sky just a bit at the bottom here, just because it's not coming across as kind of bright enough for what I want. Of course, make sure my fingers are thoroughly, or as clean as I'm going to get them before I dab this in, because the white very quickly goes to grey almost immediately as soon as I kind of get that into a different element. I'm just highlighting sections that I want some of this white in. And again, as you'll have seen from the video, it's a very crumbly pastel, which, yeah, can be problematic. So I know this comes down here underneath this cloud. Like that. And then the lightest bit here. Like that. Yeah, that looks a bit better. Do I want to highlight any other sections? Make anything darker? Have any more fun? Possibly not, actually. I kind of like some of the sections we've got here. It's, you know, moderately pretty. This is the gorgeous blue, blue grey. I want to just pop that there. Yeah, I don't want to go too far down with that, actually. And do I want to add any of the light warm grey in? There's not really a lot of this colour in this, mostly because by this point at night, obviously it's all gone very blue toned, so there isn't really a lot of the warmer greys in this. And I do apologise for the noise in the background. There's a truck parked outside, and they're not particularly happy because it's just started absolutely hammering it down with rain. This bit here is a bit lighter. I might actually just bring some of that in there. Oh, that's a bit better. It's still a bit warmer than I would want it, but it's a bit better. Right. I am happy to say that I am done with that. I don't want to work on it too much because I will overwork it. Bear in mind that this is not a sanded paper, so it's not going to take loads of layers. So where it is at the moment is perfectly fine. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this one. Definitely give it a go yourself, and I will see you all soon for another sky. I'm also going to do a short little, not a shorts video, but a short little video on me setting up for my next river painting. Obviously I've got a lot of video footage from Killen, so I'm getting, you know, I want to create a fair few of paintings of these river paintings, and I want to show you guys how I set up my textured surface. So basically from the blank board on my easel through to setting up the paper, trimming it back, taping it down, and then what the tools are that I use to create all the different textures on the modelling, with the modelling paste and with the white gesso. So hopefully you guys will look forward to seeing that. Also look forward to seeing another sky soon, and we'll see what happens next, whether I take a clip from the middle of the video or maybe right at the end where it's considerably darker than when it was for this one. And I will see you all soon. Ta-ta for now.